a temple that cannot be overlooked in Southeast Asian history. Amidst the remote wilderness of the Dangrek mountain range, where nature seems to rise vertically into the sky, stands an ancient temple, precariously perched and proudly elevated atop a rocky cliff. This is Preah Vihear, a sacred Hindu sanctuary built nearly a millennium ago by the skilled hands of the ancient Khmer civilization. Yet Preah Vihear is far more than a religious or architectural monument. It is a historical flashpoint, a geopolitical crossroads where the turbulent narratives of two Southeast Asian nations, Cambodia and Thailand, dramatically converge. For over half a century, this ancient structure has repeatedly become the epicenter of sovereignty disputes, military tensions, and even armed clashes. Behind its moss-covered roofs and time-worn Shiva carvings lies a century-long saga, one intertwined with international law, nationalism, cultural heritage, and the lingering shadows of colonial boundaries. From the controversial 1962 ruling by the International Court of Justice, ICJ, to deadly military skirmishes between the two countries in the 2000s, from tense negotiations under the Asean framework to fervent public campaigns in both nations, Preah Vihear has time and again captured the attention and concern of the international community. Why has a sacred temple sparked both legal battles and live ammunition? Why has Preah Vihear, despite being a UNESCO World Heritage Site, become a symbol of division rather than unity? And most importantly, is there a path for Preah Vihear to reclaim its rightful role, not as a front line of hostility, but as a bridge of peace? Today's commentary invites you to delve into the dramatic and sorrowful history of Preah Vihear, not merely to understand a border dispute, but to reflect on how history, culture, and politics interweave to form complex ties between Southeast Asian nations. Join us on a journey to uncover the deeper meaning of one of the world's most contested temples, Preah Vihear. Before we begin uncovering the story of the Preah Vihear temple, I kindly invite you to share this video and click subscribe to support and encourage me to keep improving in future videos. Thank you.
Part 2. The History and Value of the Preah Vihear Temple. Preah Vihear was first constructed around the 9th century during the reign of King Yasovarman I and was completed in several stages through to the 12th century under Suryavarman II, the great king who built the magnificent Angkor Wat. Uniquely, the temple was not built in a valley on flat and easily accessible land, but rather on a steep cliff of the Dangrek mountain range, over 500 meters above the Cambodian plains. From this commanding position, the entire northern region of Cambodia, and even further into what is now Thailand, lies within clear view. This was not only a spiritual choice to be closer to the gods above, but also a strategic decision. The ancient Khmer understood well. To control the high ground was to gain a military advantage. Architecturally, Preah Vihear is entirely distinct from other temples in the Angkor complex. While Angkor Wat is oriented along an east-west axis, Preah Vihear follows a north-south axis, stretching nearly 800 meters from the foot of the mountain to its highest peak. Along this pathway lie 5 main complexes, each representing a phase of construction, a king, and a unique religious belief. What sets it apart is how the entire temple is designed as a spiritual journey. Pilgrims must ascend the slopes, pass through successive levels, sanctuaries, sacred gates, and statues of the god Shiva, as if gradually entering the heavenly realm. This architecture evokes a sense of divinity while challenging both the body and willpower of the visitor. Religiously, Preah Vihear was dedicated to the worship of Shiva, one of the 3 supreme deities in Hinduism. The temple's intricate bas-reliefs depict scenes from Hindu mythology, while also bearing influences from Mahayana Buddhism, which became more prominent as the Khmer Empire gradually shifted its religious focus. The value of Preah Vihear lies not only in its architectural artistry or religious significance, but also in its message of power. It was a place where the ancient Khmer proclaimed, "We are an empire that dominates not only in material might, but also in spirit and soul." And it is this very essence that makes Preah Vihear not only a sacred site, but a national symbol of honor.
Part 3. Who owns the heritage? The roots of a territorial dispute. To understand why Preah Vihear became the heart of a long-standing dispute, we must turn back the clock to the 19th century, a time when the political landscape of Southeast Asia was being redrawn under the shadow of colonial powers. During this period, France established Cambodia as a protectorate and began defining its borders with Siam, present-day Thailand, through a series of treaties. One key outcome of this process was a map drawn by the French in 1907, commonly referred to as the Annex I map. On this map, the Temple of Preah Vihear appeared clearly within Cambodian territory. At the time, the Thai authorities did not issue a formal objection, though historical evidence suggests they never fully accepted the map's content. When Cambodia gained independence from France in 1953, it asserted sovereignty over Preah Vihear, citing the Annex I map as legal and historical proof. Thailand opposed the claim, arguing that the mountaintop where the temple stands rightfully belonged to them, based on the watershed principle, a natural boundary concept that defines borders along the highest points separating drainage basins. Tensions escalated. In 1959, Cambodia brought the case before the International Court of Justice, ICJ, seeking a definitive ruling. What followed was not just a courtroom battle over borders, but one of the first major territorial disputes in Asia to be placed before the ICJ, setting a significant precedent in international law. Part 4. The 1962 International Court ruling and its aftermath. On June 15, 1962, after nearly 3 years of deliberation, the International Court of Justice, ICJ, delivered its verdict. By a vote of 9-3, it ruled that the Temple of Preah Vihear is situated in territory under the sovereignty of Cambodia. The court ordered Thailand to withdraw its troops and return all artifacts that had been removed from the temple. The core argument behind this decision centered on Thailand's prolonged silence regarding the Annex I map, which had been drawn by the French, acting on behalf of Cambodia at the time. The ICJ interpreted this silence as implicit acceptance. Thus, the legal doctrine of estoppel, which prevents a party from denying what it previously accepted, was invoked. The ruling sent shockwaves through Thailand. In Bangkok, tens of thousands of demonstrators took to the streets in protest. Though the Thai government ultimately complied with the court's order and withdrew its forces, the public sentiment remained bitter. From that moment on, Preah Vihear became, for many Thais, a symbol of loss and wounded sovereignty. For Cambodia, the decision was hailed as a monumental diplomatic triumph. King Norodom Sihanouk quickly organized a grand celebration at the temple, inviting international media to witness the moment. He proudly declared Preah Vihear a testament to Khmer patriotism and the indomitable spirit of the Cambodian people. Yet, despite the clear ruling, the ICJ decision did not resolve all border-related issues surrounding the temple. The adjacent area, particularly a 4.6 square kilometer tract of land, remained undefined and became a lingering flashpoint for future tensions. The consequences of the 1962 ruling extended far beyond questions of law or territorial control. It touched deeply on matters of national identity, pride, and foreign policy for both nations. For Cambodia, Preah Vihear is a cherished emblem of resilience. For Thailand, it remains an open historical wound.
Part 5. From UNESCO to Conflict, the Fiery Years of 2008 to 2011. In 2008, Cambodia submitted a nomination file to UNESCO requesting the recognition of the Preah Vihear Temple as a World Cultural Heritage Site. Although the International Court of Justice had awarded sovereignty over the temple to Cambodia in 1962, the area surrounding the temple, especially the 4.6 square kilometers of land to the southwest, remained undefined between the two nations. When Cambodia's nomination lacked Thailand's consent, it sparked a wave of intense protest in Bangkok. On July 7, 2008, UNESCO officially inscribed Preah Vihear Temple as a World Heritage Site under Cambodia's nomination. Thailand responded with immediate and fierce opposition. Many Thais viewed the move as a unilateral act violating national sovereignty. The ultra-nationalist Yellow Shirt movement, PAD, used the event as a political lever to challenge the government. Meanwhile, in Cambodia, Prime Minister Hun Sen's administration capitalized on the UNESCO success to boost its political standing ahead of the elections. The situation quickly escalated from diplomatic dispute to military confrontation. In October 2008, gunfire erupted for the first time near the temple area. In the years that followed, particularly from 2009 to 2011, the border region turned into a recurring battleground marked by artillery and gunfire exchanges, causing dozens of military casualties and forcing thousands of civilians to evacuate. Tensions peaked in February 2011 when both sides engaged in 4 consecutive days of heavy shelling. Reports indicated that artillery shells had even struck parts of the ancient temple, raising alarm from UNESCO and the international community. The Director General of UNESCO at the time called for the establishment of a demilitarized zone around Preah Vihear, but both countries accused each other of violating sovereignty. On the diplomatic front, several ASEAN summits were convened in an effort to de-escalate tensions, but neither side backed down. The firm stances and strong nationalist sentiments on both sides turned Preah Vihear into a symbol of confrontation rather than unity. The 2008 to 2011 conflict made one thing clear. International rulings and UNESCO recognition notwithstanding, territorial boundaries, if not clearly demarcated and accepted by the people, remain a smoldering fuse for future conflict.
Part 6. The 2013 ICJ ruling, the final line? Amid escalating tensions after 2008, the Cambodian government decided to bring the case back to the International Court of Justice, ICJ, in 2011. This time, however, it was not to dispute ownership of the temple itself, but to request an interpretation of the 1962 ruling, specifically regarding the territorial scope surrounding Preah Vihear that Cambodia was entitled to. In its request, Cambodia argued that, although the ICJ had already affirmed the temple's sovereignty belonged to Cambodia, Thailand continued to maintain a military presence in the vicinity and to assert claims over the 4.6-kilometer area around the temple. This contradiction, Phnom Penh claimed, risked renewed conflict. Therefore, Cambodia requested that the ICJ clarify its 1962 judgment, which areas were essentially related to Preah Vihear and must be vacated. On November 11, 2013, the ICJ issued a new ruling. The court confirmed that Cambodia held sovereignty over the entire area adjacent to the Preah Vihear temple, and that Thailand must withdraw all military forces, police units, and station personnel from the zone. However, the court did not make a definitive judgment over the entire 4.6-kilometer area, instead urging both parties to pursue a diplomatic solution for precise boundary demarcation. The responses from both countries revealed a shift. Although a segment of the Thai public remained dissatisfied, both governments pledged to comply with the ICJ decision, withdraw troops, and begin confidence-building measures through bilateral dialogue under Asean supervision. The 2013 ruling thus marked not only the close of a chapter of conflict, but also offered a potential model, resolving disputes through international law rather than force. Still, this final line remains fragile. On the ground, the border has yet to be fully demarcated, and in the minds of many citizens of both nations, history remains an unresolved legacy.
Part 7. After the ruling, Preah Vihear and a lesson for today's Asean, the best path forward. Following the 2013 ruling, military tensions in the Preah Vihear area significantly de-escalated. The armed forces of Thailand and Cambodia agreed to withdraw from key flashpoints around the temple, creating space for dialogue and rebuilding mutual trust. However, this did not mean that all disputes were entirely resolved. On the ground, complex issues such as border demarcation, tourism access, buffer zone management, and lingering psychological, historical, and nationalistic legacies continued to pose challenges. The core issue is no longer merely sovereignty, but how to manage a shared transboundary heritage site. As a UNESCO World Heritage Site, Preah Vihear should have become a symbol of joint stewardship rather than a pretext for division between two neighboring countries. Regrettably, during the 2008 to 2011 period, the very UNESCO designation contributed to heightened tensions, fostering a sense of symbolic and legal victory for one side and loss for the other. However, since 2013, a notable shift has taken place. Cambodia has actively collaborated with United Nations agencies, ASEAN, and various non-governmental organizations to preserve and promote Preah Vihear as a symbol of peace. Thailand, while not abandoning its historical concerns, has re-engaged with regional forums for cultural cooperation and joint conservation along the border. For ASEAN, an organization that consistently emphasizes the peaceful resolution of disputes, the lesson from Preah Vihear is profound. What is needed is not only legal neutrality, but also effective mechanisms to monitor and enforce commitments, particularly in territorial disputes entangled with cultural heritage and national sentiment. So, what is the best way forward? Cross-border cooperation in managing the temple and its surrounding buffer zone based on UNESCO's Heritage of Peace model. Establishing a joint monitoring mechanism involving Cambodia, Thailand, and ASEAN, combining heritage conservation, sustainable tourism development, and border stability. Creating cultural dialogue centers where citizens, scholars, and local authorities from both countries can jointly study and promote their shared heritage. If viewed beyond the lens of territorial conflict, Preah Vihear Temple can truly become a symbol of reconciliation, a shared heritage of humanity, and a model lesson in regional peace, something Southeast Asia urgently needs in the 21st century as it seeks deeper integration and lasting stability. Final reflection. Preah Vihear, a temple of reconciliation or a symbol of division. As the setting sun cast its final light across the moss-covered stone steps of Preah Vihear, projecting solemn shadows onto its ancient walls, one cannot help but ask, how did a sacred monument, originally built to honor divinity and faith, become the epicenter of political conflict and violence for decades? Behind each stone of Preah Vihear lies the legacy of a once flourishing civilization, the Khmer Empire, which left behind an architectural heritage that continues to command global admiration. Yet, interwoven with this cultural splendor is a layered, complex history, where colonial-era border demarcations sowed seeds of mistrust and rivalry between two neighboring peoples. The dispute between Thailand and Cambodia is not merely about a monument. It is the tragic manifestation of a region that, for many years, lacked effective mechanisms for dialogue and conflict resolution. A French-era map, a 1962 court ruling, the roar of artillery and mortars in 2011, each has become a fragment of an unresolved mosaic, leaving unanswered the fundamental question, who truly belongs to Preah Vihear? And yet, precisely because of this ambiguity, Preah Vihear holds the potential to become a turning point. It compels us, as citizens of Southeast Asia, to rethink how we resolve disputes, through force or through dialogue, through unilateral declarations or through enduring cooperation, by sanctifying sovereignty or by honoring our shared human heritage. The temple on the cliff of Preah Vihear is not merely a point where two nations converge. It is a crossroads between past and future. If the past has left wounds, then the future must be about healing through wisdom, empathy, and a collective desire for peace. And perhaps one day, if Thailand and Cambodia come together to establish a joint cultural center at Preah Vihear, where visitors are welcomed from both sides of the border, where students from both nations learn history through multiple lenses, then this temple will no longer symbolize division, but stand as a triumphant anthem of reconciliation. Let Preah Vihear be more than a repository of ancient stones. Let it be a birthplace of new values, where history is no longer a burden, but a solemn reminder that peace is possible if we dare to choose it. Before this video comes to a close, we invite you to reflect on a few pressing and profound questions. If Preah Vihear were no longer regarded as belonging to Thailand or belonging to Cambodia, but rather as a shared heritage of all humankind, would that reshape the way we engage with cultural legacy and national sovereignty? What lessons can ASEAN as a regional community draw from the Preah Vihear dispute to manage conflicts through dialogue rather than confrontation? In your view, should UNESCO reconsider its procedures for recognizing World Heritage Sites located in contested territories? Why or why not? Thank you sincerely for watching. If this video resonated with your thoughts, sparked new reflections, or offered a fresh perspective, we kindly invite you to like, share, and subscribe to ensure you won't miss our future explorations.